So now I want to kind of talk about, that's one thing that I really want. I think it will be very beneficial for the viewers, because you in your business, like you guys had a great start. You guys raised a good amount of money with some amazing investors. I remember you mentioning that you guys were growing pretty well and you ended up like, you were growing across the Bay Area, started growing across California, eventually even nationally, right? So you guys were doing very well, but then in the meantime, you guys had a fallout, which ended up you leaving the company. So kind of want to know more about that. What happened and anything you can share.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was. I mean, just to begin with, I mean, it was an unfortunate set of incidents that really happened. There was a lot of great things going on, like you mentioned. And by the way, I just realized I mixed up the timeline. I kind of met my co-founder at the end of 2016, early 2017, like just within that year when I was starting the company, not 2012, 2013. I think I rambled it off. My apologies.
All
So,
good.
but in terms of things are going well. We were again just starting off small with like zero marketing budget, or at best a few months in pocket change marketing budget of $1 or $5 or maybe $10 on certain days, because we didn't have funding to begin with. So we pushed hard for growth. We're starting to see response from people in San Francisco, in the Bay Area. Obviously targeted directly first customers who were already plant-based, for example, and we're just looking for an easier way to continue being plant-based, although the vast majority of the focus for me was always flexitarians, because that's where the real big impact sort of lies in terms of being able to shift people's diet in a meaningful way for this planet. So it was all going well, but I had very early on seen a lot of red flags around, from my co-founder in terms of his attitude towards me or how he was kind of talking to other people about me, which I, again, found out much later as well, or how he thought I would be a partner along in this journey. But I just thought, hey, this is like work of passion. I've been wanting to do something in this space so desperately for so long that I ignored a lot of these red flags. So I started seeing a lot of red flags around his attitude towards me, how he saw partnering with me in the future of this company, and basically starting to sense that again, that I was being used in the process in some ways. But again, I thought, hey, it's fine. Like co-founders have issues. Like we're working together for the first time. It's okay. This is like, let's keep this in-house. We'll sort it out. We're two mature individuals,
Yep.
grown-up human beings, and beans don't have to be spill out, and like we can just like contain this inside, learn, and go forward. But then unfortunately, I quickly realized that that was not the best one. Like a lot of my friends, my girlfriend at the time, everyone was like telling me there's a ton of red flags. Like I shouldn't go ahead with it. But in the desperation of like doing something that is work of passion that I was waiting to do something in this space. And finally we had created a vehicle for ourselves. And I was like, hey, and now I'm able to deliver the kind of impact that I want to deliver and starting to scale it up. I kind of ignored a lot of those red flags along the way. And when it even came to YC during that time, again, a lot of those problems continued. But again, in a sense of keeping it in house, and not letting the company's brand be soiled anywhere else. I was not even talking to the YC partners or anybody
Yeah.
about some of this stuff, right? So really, that's what happened there. And unfortunately, at the end of YC at demo day, that was the fortunate part. We raised $2.5 million just within a matter of a couple of weeks, which was fantastic. And beyond our wildest expectations of any sort, especially getting such big ticket VC names on board. Also got Jason Kidd of the NBA on board. This was a childhood idol of mine because I grew up playing basketball at the national level. So this was like doing stuff in the plant-based world, entrepreneurship, raising from Coastal Ventures and Jason Kidd and Y-Com. It was just a bunch of dreams coming true. So I was kind of also just like so
Yeah.
lost in those areas and execution and just growth that I ignored a ton of the stuff. And then unfortunately, I realized, soon after that, I was way too trusting of my co-founder way too soon, without having to get him to know that well. Wasn't even included on the incorporation documents of the company because I was focused on growth. And then soon after we raised all that money, I basically had owned roughly half of the company and ended up kind of being forced and cornered into a settlement where I just ended up keeping a tiny, tiny part of the company, like pretty much right after raising $2.5 million, essentially.
That's tough, man. How did you like? How was this? Whoa, I can't even imagine, man, because that is. I've had my share of co-founder disputes, so I understand where you're coming from, and I've done that as well, where like the feeling of once this is just for this time, like once we have that, once this is over, once we are successful, then we don't have to worry about that, like whatever, like just ignoring that, so that in the future, like your goals are so important that you're like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna just like I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna just go with it just for now. I've kind of like had my share of co-founder disputes, and I've seen what you mean. Like like not as crazy as yours. Yours are like, it reminds me of the Facebook movie, but but mine's more like where same as you in the sense that I was like, things are going well, and I don't wanna. I just wanna. I'll worry. This will all pass, and the goal or the success is so important that it doesn't matter. But in the end of the day, it does matter, right? Like it really makes you, like, it hurts you, and it makes you very weak, and there's so much stuff around that. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, man, it was hard for sure. Like for me, yes, I was always more married to the mission of ensuring that we build a better future of food, not necessarily just the company Milk Guys or any specific human beings. But again, this being my first entrepreneurial journey ever, especially that took off in a serious way, I was attached to it pretty deeply, right? And all the highs and lows that come with it, you're really attached. It's an emotional journey, like you mentioned. And I also really again, had nothing personal ever against my co-founder ever. Like
Right.
we didn't. I personally didn't have anything. I kind of actually thought of him as a brother. So when the separation happened, it wasn't just me losing out this amazing vehicle that I created for impact in this space or for business. That was all already very hard to take, but it was also in the process losing out a co-founder that I had thought until a certain point that was more like one of my closest friends or confidants or sort of brothers, in this world. So it was hard. It was also hard the way it ended because there were like very like below the belt shots of like threatening my immigration situation. And I'm mentioning these because it kind of like paints a picture of really what is a pain I had to deal with, I guess, in this case. And
Yep.
and also trying to, I mean, I guess I talk openly about this. Also below the belt shot and trying to threaten me with like drug use charges for consuming the California greens, essentially, which again in California is all legal, and also like co-founder also partook in those things. So it was very very painful at the time. Not just like an amicable parting. It was a pretty hard, like rough parting ways. So I basically at that point just like tried to find the quickest way to settlement, which didn't turn out well for me. Took a 3 month sabbatical, went back home to India, to Mumbai, here at my parents' place where I'm at right now, again, and just tried to like disconnect for a while, like disconnect from all Instagram, social media, anything related to Milk Guys. Didn't want to look at things related to YC for some time, and yeah, eventually that's what really helped me to sort of recover from it to some extent, if not completely. This stuff takes a while to recover from. So 3 months is definitely not enough, but that's really what I tried. And then I went back to San Francisco, jumped back into the game of again focusing on doing more stuff in the same industry.